One day, when Job's sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the eldest brother's house, a messenger came to Job and said, "The oxen were ploughing and the donkeys were grazing nearby, and the Sabines attacked and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The fire of God fell from the heavens and burned up the sheep and the servants, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, another messenger came and said, "The Chaldeans formed 3 raiding parties and swept down on your camels and made off with them. They put the servants to the sword, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." While he was still speaking, yet another messenger came and said, "Your sons and daughters were feasting and drinking wine at the eldest brother's house, when suddenly a mighty wind swept in from the desert and struck the 4 corners of the house. It collapsed on them, and they are dead, and I am the only one who has escaped to tell you." At this, Job got up and tore his robe and shaved his head, then fell to the ground in worship and said, "Naked I come from my mother's womb, and naked I shall depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised."
Morning, everyone. So, this feels very different to me standing up here and talking about finances. So my name is Martha, and I am going to do the sermon, Love Always Hopes. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to our visitors. Thank you for coming to worship with us. So I hope you'll be encouraged by this sermon today. So when Peter asked me to do this, I said, I don't think I can do this. I can't preach like you and Mike. I just can't do it. But Peter said, we don't want to hear another version of Mike and Peter. We want to hear from Martha. Well, the day came, and I am here this morning, and hopefully I will give you the best version of Martha. So, if we start with a prayer. When I get this mic. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for this morning, for everyone who's here with us today. Thank you for looking after us during this last week and carrying us through whatever we've been facing. Lord, as I stand before my church family now, I pray that the words I will say today are your message of love and hope. I pray that you give us the faith to believe that nothing is impossible in your name, and to always put our hope in you, no matter how difficult the circumstances. I ask this in your holy name. Amen. And thank you, Peter, for your encouragement and support. So what is hope? Hope is a word we use every day. I use it every morning. Hope you slept well. Hope you had a good day. Hope you feel better soon. And so on and so on. But I never imagined that I'll be standing here today talking about hope and the meaning of hope. And I'm sure a lot of us will identify with using this word so often. A 4-letter word that has taken me on a journey these last few weeks. It's been an interesting one, a stressful one, and hopefully this morning I will take you on that journey too. So as I was preparing the sermon, I found myself thinking, so what do we really mean when we use the word hope? And why is it such an important and powerful word? So I asked Mona, my daughter, so what do you think about this topic, love always hopes? What would you say? And she said, "Oh, that's easy. I could talk about The Princess and the Frog." And I said, "And what would you say?" She said, "Well, how Tiana and Naveen, they were frogs. They went through a lot of challenges and struggles in the hope of being turned back into humans. And throughout their journey, they stuck together. They never gave up. They fell in love, and that love turned them back to humans." So I thought that was really good. But we're not going to go to Princess and the Frog today. Maybe another time. But if you have children, have grandchildren, do take the time to watch that, because I have watched it and it is quite interesting. So I went online to find the meaning of hope. There were many versions, but my favorite one came from dictionary.com. So it says, "Hope is to look forward to something with desire and reasonable confidence." So hope is to look forward to something with desire and reasonable confidence. I particularly like the word confidence because our confidence comes from God. He gives us the power to hope, and this shows in His love for us. So hope is much more than wishful thinking, and that is what makes it more powerful. It's a state of mind that is optimistic and positive, and it enables us to believe that something good will happen. So you'll see there's 3 pictures there. So I went a bit further, went online and looked at some pictures of hope. And those pictures on the screen are the ones that stood out to me. So it's two of plants and one of hands. So what quickly stood out to me was the two plants. I mean, look at them. They are growing. There's no soil. There's no sand. But they're thriving. And that's not a natural habitat for plants. Plants need soil. Rich soil, water, light. But no, not these plants. They grew. And that, to me, just shows that they were pushing through very difficult conditions. So if you look, the first one looks like a road or a pavement. Just that small crack enabled it to grow. And the next one is a tree bark. So that tree looks dry, but right in the middle there is a green plant growing. Wow. Amazing. And this can represent our hope in God, especially in difficult times. It shows that our hope is at its strongest during our struggles. So what quickly became apparent to me from these pictures was that they supported that theory that hope is a paradox. It has a symbiotic relationship with hardship or despair. Now there's a word I haven't used since my A-level biology class, a symbiotic relationship. So that means one needs the other, either to survive or to exist. So hope and hardship. So that means that when life knocks us down and hits us at our very lowest point, that is when we see real hope. Our hope emerges. And in the last picture, I put my own interpretation to it. I just thought, I can just imagine that to be God, saying, "Come to me, my child. Reach out to me, and I'll be there to hold your hand and pull you through whatever is troubling your heart. I will give you strength, and I will give you hope." But it can also be one of us reaching out to each other. Here in this church, our family, stranger, co-worker, or anyone that we feel needs our encouragement and hope. Then I went on a another journey. And this time exploring the passage that we just read. And all throughout this passage and the discussion, please keep this question in mind. What if the challenges we face in life are also the same things that shape us and take us to a brighter future? So what if the challenges we face in life are also the same things that shape us and take us to a brighter future? Now, the reading today was the book of Job, and as we see, Job's life changed. So in the beginning of the chapter, Job is introduced to us as a wealthy man. He is healthy, he has his family, he has his children, and his wealth, in those days, wealth was measured by livestock. He had hundreds of them. He was a God-loving man. And then one day, Job loses everything. His children, his servants, his livestock, and later his health. At this point, one would have expected Job to walk away from it all, to say, "It was nice knowing you, God. I'm out of here. I'm done." After all, he had nothing left. He had nothing left to lose. But no, he did not walk away. Instead, he knelt, he praised the Lord. So he knelt down and praised the Lord. Isn't that a wonderful image? A man who's just lost everything, but still looking up to God, exalting his holy name. And this shapes the rest of Job's journey. His friends see him suffering, and they come and sit with him to encourage him. But eventually, they see the suffering and they say, "Job, surely you must have done something wrong. There must be a sin you must have committed. Confess, and you will be all right." And they even make up some sins that he could potentially have committed, just to try and convince him. And he says, "No, I have committed no sin. I'm confessing to nothing." But Job maintains his innocence and carries on. And he's putting his trust, he remains steadfast in his hope in the Lord. Later on, we see his wife. And she also says to Job, "Curse the Lord so you can be healed." Because at this stage, Job has sores all over his body. He's in pain. And many of us know what pain feels like. I, for one, know that. And you would have thought, yes, Job will say, "Yes, I'm in pain, I'll curse the Lord, and I will be healed, and I will be fine." But no, he didn't. He didn't listen to his wife. So Job embraced his suffering, and he continues to put his hope in God and his faith in God. This is because Job, like that definition of hope, is confident in his hope. He's confident. He knows that if he perseveres, God will come through for him. And this reminds me of a meme, so a little picture that I've seen, of a miner who gave up digging for gold after many months of digging. And in a cross-section of the place he was digging, it actually shows that he was one dig away from striking gold. One dig away. He gave up. But Job didn't. He kept going. And that is what we need to hold on to. That hope that is so deep that you want to carry on digging until you strike your gold. Even in the bleakest of situations, God's love will carry you through. Just keep your faith in him, because hope and faith go hand in hand. As someone told me recently, having faith is forsaking all, I trust in him. So forsaking all, I trust in him. And that's exactly what Job did. Didn't listen to his friends, didn't listen to his wife. He put his faith and hope in God. Job waited and hoped in the Lord, but that's not to say it was smooth sailing. No. And throughout the chapters, we see him wrestling with God. And I'm sure many of us will identify with wrestling with God. But we can wrestle with God. It's healthy. It's a good relationship with God. He loves us because we're his children. We can question. We may not always get the answers that we want, but God responds. He responds with love bigger than ever. And this helped Job understand God's wisdom. And so at the end of the book, we see Job being given a gift by God. He gives him twice the amount of livestock that he had. And he gets to live longer. 140 years, the Bible says. It's a long time. And he goes on to have more children. So God responded to Job with love. Okay. So, it's all very well to have hope and hope for ourselves, but what does hope look like when it is shared? So in order to see the true meaning of hope, when you hope for yourself, share it with others. It's the best gift that we can give to others. Just as faith without action is dead, so is hope without action. Like during the pandemic, remember, we suddenly lost a lot of what we knew to be part of our daily lives. We lost our freedom. We're suddenly confined to our homes. And I know most of us are comfortable, we love our homes, but when you're then forced to stay in there 24/7, don't enjoy it. We lost the ability to see our friends, family, go shopping. Couldn't even go to work. You had to have a letter to go to work. You had to be a key worker to be able to get out. And if you did go for a walk, you could only go 1 hour. But throughout all this, what I noticed is that we as Baptist Church, Worthing Baptist Church, we brought hope to another. The phone calls, text messages, and the socially distant visits. And let's not forget Hills Garden Church as well. We couldn't meet as a church, but Mike and Peter kept that hope and faith alive with online services. I remember getting up on Sundays, getting dressed, taking a few steps to church, also known as my lounge, looking forward to seeing the people that were reading the Bible, because there will always be somebody else, and it was just nice to see those faces on the screen. It's this kind of love, kindness and hope that we experienced, myself and my daughter, when we first came to Worthing Baptist Church. It was back in 2016. We came here during a very difficult time in our lives, and needless to say, it was love and hope at first sight. We walked through those doors, and we're still here. It had nothing to do with the fact that we'd seen a barbecue outside the week before. But that may have influenced it. But yes, almost 6 years later, we're still here. And I, for one, am so proud to be part of a church that is bringing so much hope to so many people. I'll go a little bit further and just share an experience how I experienced love and hope during the pandemic. So this was a time when I truly witnessed hope through the love of my family back home. For the first time in history, my family back in Zimbabwe, we know Zimbabwe is a third world country, they were in a better position than we were here in the UK. They had not started experiencing the pandemic. The word lockdown to them didn't mean anything at all. Even COVID didn't mean anything at all to them. It was just a foreign concept. All they knew was we were living here and there was this disease. But in the midst of all this, my 90-year-old grandmother, or as I call her in my language, Gogo, showed me the true meaning of love and hope in action. One day, while sitting in the lounge after one of our permitted walks, my phone rings. It's a voice note. What's that voice note? I listened to it, and it was my grandmother. Didn't even know she could do that. But she did. She was very worried, very concerned. She was asking, how are you? How's Mona? Are you well? How are you coping? All these questions. Very, very worried. And she was sending us warm thoughts and prayers. And in that moment, I thought, wow, if this is not love, then I don't know what love is. There was my 90-year-old grandmother in rural Zimbabwe. No electricity, no running water, and as Peter, you've been to South Africa, you could confirm that. So, yeah, so for me, sitting there thinking, wow, this lady has just put us first. She gave us hope. But we were fine, we were comfortable, we had running water, we had electricity, all the things that she didn't have. But in that moment, she put us first. And she gave us hope that everything will be fine in the end. I began to look forward to our weekly exchanges. They kept me going. My grandmother sadly passed away in May 2021, and I see it fitting that in May 2023, I am here talking about her. I never got the chance to see her because of the travel restrictions, but in her last days, I was able to show her love and hope through the same way she showed me love and hope. I sent her the voice notes. We did video calls. And if I didn't make a call, she would demand that my young sister makes that call to me so we could have a chat. And that was amazing. And thanks to technology, I still have those voice notes. So whenever I feel a bit low, I can listen to them. And I feel as if my grandma's still there, whispering messages of hope and love. Now, to conclude. So that we have faith and hope does not mean that we will not face challenges. Instead, our hope is a strong foundation that holds us together through those challenges. So to end the sermon today, I want to leave you with an image in mind. So imagine you're in a dark room. Feel free to close your eyes if you want to. Imagine you're in a dark room for a long time, such that you get accustomed to the darkness. And then you discover a tiny crack that lets the light in, just a bit of light. And suddenly there's light in that room that overpowers the darkness. And all you can see is that light. That's what hope is. Having that tiny bit of confidence and faith, and that will keep your hope alive. So allow yourself to be flawed. Allow yourself to be broken, because that brokenness leads to a crack that lets the light in, the light of hope. Hold on to that. Hope even in the face of adversity. And remember, God loves you. God bless you, and have a good